Welcome back, fight fans, to another hard-hitting episode of Fight Boxing Podcast. I'm your host, Max, and today we're diving deep into one of the most contentious matchups on the scene. Now, before we get into the nitty-gritty, let's set the stage. Boxing is an art, a sport that demands honor and grit, and there's absolutely no room for cheats. It's dangerous enough without anyone trying to gain an unfair edge. We're talking about a fight that's been brewing under a cloud of controversy. A bout that isn't just about who can throw the hardest punch, but about integrity in the ring. And central to this discussion is Conor Benn. Despite all the chatter in the public arena, Conor Benn hasn't cleared his name when it comes to the lingering questions about performance-enhancing drugs. Let me be clear. When allegations like these arise, they cast a long shadow over the legitimacy of any fighter's accomplishments. Now you might ask, why is this fight happening? It's not just another bout, it's a collision of ideals. On one side, you have fighters who have earned their stripes the hard way, risking life and limb in pursuit of glory. On the other side, we see a growing trend of questionable practices that threaten the very core of boxing. When a fighter like Benn is in the spotlight, the conversation inevitably shifts to whether the competition is on a level playing field. And let's be honest, if you're stepping into that ring, you should be doing so without any shortcuts or illicit aids. Look, boxing has a storied history built on sweat, sacrifice, and the relentless pursuit of excellence. Every time a fighter steps into that squared circle, they're not just fighting an opponent, they're fighting for the honor of the sport. That's why I say there should be no place for cheats. When we allow anyone to slip past the safeguards of clean competition, we undermine everything that boxing stands for. It's already a brutal contest, a test of heart and willpower. Add a dash of dishonesty, and you've got yourself a recipe for disaster. Some critics argue that the allegations surrounding Conor Benn are just part of the noise, a way to tarnish a rising star's reputation. But here's my take. Until those doubts are unequivocally put to rest, skepticism remains not just warranted, but necessary. Fans deserve to know that what they're watching isn't just raw physicality, it's a fair contest. And fair play isn't just a buzzword, it's the foundation on which boxing was built. Let's talk details. In the weeks leading up to this fight, the murmurs about PEDs have been impossible to ignore. Whether you're a diehard follower or a casual observer, the narrative is clear. The public arena is rife with questions that demand answers. And while some fighters have taken steps to address these issues head-on, Conor Benn's silence on this matter speaks volumes. It's like a dark cloud hanging over his achievements, a stain that can't be easily wiped away with a few sound bites or press releases. This isn't just about one fighter or one fight. It's about the standards we hold in boxing. Every boxer who steps into the ring has a duty to uphold the sport's integrity. And if we allow questionable practices to go unchecked, we're not only compromising individual bouts, we're eroding the trust of millions of fans around the globe. It's a slippery slope from here to a future where winning isn't about who's the toughest or the most skillful, but who's willing to bend the rules to their advantage. Now let's pivot to the fight itself. The matchup has been hyped up not only for the talent on display, but for the stark contrast in styles and ethos. On one side, you have a fighter who embodies the traditional spirit of boxing, trained hard, fought honorably, and built his reputation on undeniable grit. On the other side, the controversy that surrounds Benn brings an added layer of drama to the proceedings. This fight isn't just another entry on a fighter's record, it's a battleground for principles. When you're preparing for a fight, every detail counts. The training, the strategy, the mental fortitude, all of it comes together in that ring. And while we all appreciate the spectacle of a well-fought contest, we mustn't forget that beneath the punches and parries lies a commitment to fairness. That's why I'm taking a stand today. There is absolutely no excuse for cheats in boxing. It's not just about keeping the sport safe, it's about preserving the honor that makes boxing so revered. I know some of you might be thinking, Max, isn't this just another case of drama in the fight world? And I get it. The world of boxing is full of passion, opinions, and yes, controversies. But let me ask you this. When the stakes are as high as they are, shouldn't we demand the highest standards from those we cheer on? When a fighter's legacy is at risk, our questions aren't just noise, they're a call for accountability. Let's not forget the human element here. Fighters put their lives on the line for a chance at glory. They train day in and day out, endure grueling conditions, and risk injury with every punch they throw. To then have their achievements called into question by any form of cheating is not only a disservice to them, but to the entire community that stands behind the sport. Boxing is a testament to human resilience. It's about overcoming adversity, not circumventing it with shortcuts that endanger lives. So, what does this all mean for the upcoming fight? In my view, it's a must-watch event, not just because of the skill on display, but because it represents a crossroads for the sport. One path leads to a future where every fighter can be trusted to abide by the rules, where the honor of the sport isn't tarnished by shady practices. The other path risks a slow descent into a world where cheating becomes normalized and the very essence of boxing is lost. And trust me, fight fans, that's a future none of us want to see. As we gear up for the fight, I urge everyone to keep their eyes open, not just for the punches and combos, but for the integrity of the contest. Ask the hard questions, demand transparency, because in a sport as brutal and beautiful as boxing, there's no room for anything less than absolute honesty. Before I wrap up today's episode, I want to leave you with this thought. Boxing is more than just a sport. It's a legacy passed down through generations. Every bout is a chapter in a story of valor, discipline, and respect. And if we start compromising on these values, we're not just risking the future of a sport, we're risking the very principles that have made boxing legendary. There you have it, fight fans. A rundown of the issues, a call for accountability, and a promise that we won't back down from asking the tough questions. Conor Benn may not have cleared his name on the PED allegations, and until he does, the doubts will remain as a stark reminder that in boxing, as in life, shortcuts have no place. Thanks for tuning in to Fight Boxing Podcast. I'm Max, and I'll catch you in the next round. And remember, in the ring and in our hearts, integrity is everything. Stay safe, stay sharp, and keep fighting the good fight.